Welcome, everybody, to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, brought to you by the Hockey Think Tank U, an online community for all hockey players, parents, and coaches to go to get a little bit of education and a little bit of inspiration regarding the greatest game on the planet. With Hockey Think Tank U, you get an exclusive Hockey Think Tank resource or video every single day. Whether it's Mindset Monday to help you be at your best, Tactics Tuesday to help you better understand the X's and O's of the game, or Parent Thursday to get unbiased guidance to help you navigate the youth hockey journey for your child, there is something in there for everybody. And if you love our podcast, we've taken the best clips from our 7+ years, and it's all in one place there in Hockey Think Tank U, and it's all categorized into buckets for players, coaches, parents, and youth hockey leadership. And every week on Friday, I make myself available on Zoom for anybody in the community to hop on and ask me anything or talk some shop. Literally, guys, it is my favorite time of my week, and the chance to talk with you, answer your questions, and really just talk some hockey. So join the over 250 people already in and sharing their knowledge and perspective with each other, and gaining even more from some of my friends at the higher levels of the game that are sharing their content and expertise inside Hockey Think Tank U. And also for the thousands that you're probably paying in this crazy youth hockey world, the price to join is only half a hockey stick. But we are people of our word, and we want to make hockey accessible to everybody. So if that is not something that you can swing, please just message me on social media, and we will give this to you for free. And we will put a link at the bottom of the show notes here, wherever you're getting this in your podcast apps, to join. And we want to make it as easy as possible for you to find. So the link will be on there, or you can go to thehockeythinktank.com and find it there too. And as always, to start the pod, let's bring on the talent of the podcast, the one Jeffrey Jehu Lavecchio. Vex, what's shaking bacon today?
Just living, brother. Just LIVIN.
That's it?
That's it, doggy. Just
it's go time for you right now, brother.
Yeah, Monday, because it was a holiday, I only had in the pro, college, and junior groups, and then I napped for 8.5 hours because I had the rest of the day off.
Jeez Louise.
I napped for 5 hours, woke up, hung with the fam. When Sophie went down, I napped for 3.5 more hours. And then
oh my God, you are an absolute beauty. You are an absolute beauty.
Yeah. Energy, bro. That's what we deal with.
Guess what?
What's up, chicken butt?
Didn't even put our guest on here yet. But our guest for this episode is one of yours and my favorite people in the entire world. So I'm going to let you introduce Jeff Lerg, the man.
Lerg. Guys, I have a very short list. I think it's at like 6 or 7 now. It used to be 5 of people that no one could ever say a bad word about because they're such a good human being. Topher Scott here is one of them. Jeff Lerg is another. Jeff Lerg is one of the best people I've ever met in the world, which would then include the hockey world too. Unbelievable human, unbelievable teammate, unbelievable friend, unbelievable family. Like, just to have the career that he had as a goalie and to be the size he was at the time that he played, where they were only looking for goalies who were massive, and to wear the C on his, still are, to wear the C on his jersey in Division I college hockey as a 5'4" goalie. I mean, like,
win a national championship.
Win a natty championship when he got there, and they were like, he's probably not even going to play. Like, oh my God, like USA Junior Hockey Player of the Year in the USHL one year. Like, just one of the best human beings, one of the best teammates, one of the best examples that I could ever possibly find to tell people, like, if you want to be successful at anything, especially in the game of hockey, look what this guy did. Look at how he lived. Listen to his advice. Use him as a mentor. And he's just done so much good for the game, both while he was playing, because him, like myself, started what he was doing for life after hockey while he was still a current pro. And since he's been retired from the game, and now this dialed and driven thing he's doing, it's going to help a buttload of players. And, again, not everybody is Sidney Crosby. Most people, 99.99% people aren't Sidney Crosby, aren't Connor McDavid, aren't, Cale Makar. You'll never be that person. So I look at, well, how can you learn from the guys who didn't have all that unbelievable natural talent and they still did great things in the game of hockey? And Jeff Lerg is one of those guys for all of the reasons that I previously stated. So this dialed and driven thing that he started it's going to be big. It's going to help a bunch of players. There's going to be a buttload of value. And listen to this podcast. You're going to love it.
Yeah. It's a great window into his program on, we talk about life skills all the time to be a better player. And that's a lot of what this is, the dial and driven mentality that he's come up with. And yeah, like I wrote something in my newsletter last week, and it was like, what is true success? And true success is a total commitment to living your potential, right? Like, and this is a guy that I would say maybe more than anybody that you and I have played with, and that includes players at the highest levels of this game playing in the NHL. I don't know if there's another person who maximized his ability and his potential more than Jeff Lerg.
Honestly.
Would you say that that's a pretty fair statement?
Yeah, like 100%. Bet the farm, bet my bank account on it. Yes, 100%.
And so again, like I think what Vex just said, I know we have a lot of kids that are listening right now. Like, this is a guy who you learn from. Like, this is a guy who took the path that you're probably on or going to be on if you have hopes and dreams of doing some special things in this game and you want to play hockey at the highest levels. Like Jeff Lerg, that's the idol. Like, that's the guy you want to look to. That's the mentor. And so awesome being able to get him on the podcast and talk about his dialed and driven mentality and just have him share his wisdom and his journey with everybody. And I think we might have broken a record here on like the amount of time in between podcasts, because we had him like very early in year one, and now we're 7.5-ish years in. And so it's just kind of funny. It's been like 6.5, 7 years since we've had Lergy on, but he's the man. And yeah, I'm in total agreement with you. Just somebody to learn from. Absolutely. Follow him on social media. Like, look up the dialed and driven formula that he's dropped. Like, seriously, it will help you. Yeah, for sure. So before we do get over to Lerg here, video clip of the week from Hockey Think Tank U. And again, this is a community where we put all of our best stuff, exclusive content, stuff like that from our podcast, from some of the other conversations that we do with some of the highest level people of this game. And so the clip that I want to share with you guys here today, this is from Barry Smith, a conversation that we had with him when he actually came to Chicago and did some stuff here with me, and got the chance to talk some hockey with him. But Barry, if you don't know who he is, he's won 7 Stanley Cups as a coach. He had 2 in Pittsburgh. He had 3 in Detroit and 2 as an advisor in Chicago with the Blackhawks. He's coached the likes of some of the best players the world has ever seen: Yager, Lemieux, Yzerman, Fedorov, Kane, Taves, Keith, just you name it. And so he had a really interesting take that a lot of coaches are talking about nowadays, especially when it comes to tactics and especially when it comes to development. And it's all about just kind of like the way the game is played and where specifically the game is played today. So here's Barry Smith, and this is a clip of what you would see in our Hockey Think Tank U community.
70% of the game today is played along the boards because why? It's used to get by somebody. It's on a turnover. I'm going to use indirect passes. It's a safe play. I can keep the puck going ahead. And then conversely, we have to go back and retrieve pucks, which are on the boards as well. So the more board play we have and understanding how to use, both forehand, backhand, quick turns, cover the puck, second quick, all the things that happen with battles, our team is going to improve.
Unreal. Like, just unreal. Again, like, most people don't realize that 70% of the game, once you get to the higher levels, and it's probably mirrored a little bit, maybe not as much, but certainly quite a bit of it in youth hockey, is played against the wall. And so as a development coach, as a coach, are you putting your kids in situations where they are picking up rims, where they have wall battles, where they have to recognize pressure of where a defenseman or where a forward is coming from on a retrieval or on a breakout if a D-man is pinching down? And so just a little tip from Barry. And, I've gotten the chance to get on the ice with him, and he does some amazing drills that we actually have in Hockey Think Tank U, just on board play, board battles, and understanding that frame of the game. And I have to imagine, Vex, that was something that you took a lot of pride in when you were playing. just playing along the wall. It's 70% of the game, guys. 70% of the game at the higher levels.
Had to, especially because I sucked at it when I was younger. Like I was not good at it. And then, we just had, we have Sam Gagne coming on the show in a future episode here. And he talked about how you have to evolve your game if whatever you're doing right now isn't getting you enough playing time. So I had to learn how to play down low and play on the walls.
And he also talked about taking like 100 rims every practice too.
Right. Exactly.
We've had, Reed Cashman, long ago we had him on the podcast, coaching Nicholas Backstrom with Washington would take tons of rims along the wall. Kucherov's known for taking a ton of rims in practice, right? Like if you can get really good along the walls like that, like you're going to add a lot of stuff to your game.
Yes. Need it.
So, okay. Good stuff. Clip of the week, Barry Smith, 7-time Stanley Cup winner. Go to httU.thehockeysthinktank.com if you want to check it out. And so with that, man, unbelievable conversation here with Lergy. Before we get over to Lergy, though, we do have some people that we want to thank. First and foremost, we want to thank our title sponsor, icehockeysystems.com. The best website out there for all of your coaching education needs. They got thousands of drills, whiteboard explanations from high-level hockey people, the ability to go in, draw up your drills, send it out to your team, build a drill library, not just for yourself, but if you get the association's platform, you can get this for every single coach in your association, build up an association, practice plan library, drill library, unbelievable stuff. But it ain't just about the coaches now. They have family accounts and so much great information in there from parent education. We've done a lot of stuff with them for that. And player development, a lot of great stuff in there for kids too. So make sure you go to icehockeysystems.com today and check that out if you're a coach, but also if you're a player or a parent too with these family accounts. Unbelievable stuff, guys. icehockeysystems.com. Vex, go ahead.
Give a massive shout out to Train Heroic, guys. We've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of players online right now training with me for the off season. Because my 20-week off season training programs sold out for both at home younger players and in the gym. After I announced it here, I developed a 14-week off-season training program, which is like right about now until the season starts for almost every player. So we just dropped those, and those are absolutely cranking as well. So if you're looking for quality training at a literally like a couple dollars a week, like hilariously affordable price, go to my Instagram. Links in my bio there. It's super, super cheap. And you can train whether it's in a gym and you're an older player or at home and you're a younger player for the cost of a cup of coffee a week, maybe less. Train Heroic makes that all possible. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Also to one of the best hockey development products on the market, and that is Helios Hockey. It is a sensor that you put into your shoulder pad that gives you real-time data and real-time feedback on your play. Two things specifically that the kids absolutely love. Number one is a hustle score. Every time you move, that thing lights up and gives you a lot of great feedback on how hard you're working, how fast you're going, everything like that. And so really, really cool. The kids gamify it, and it's a really cool tool in there. And then also skating. Unbelievable skating development tools in there too. And if you want to play hockey at the higher levels, skating is a big part of it. Coaches, I was actually just in Nashville doing some fun stuff at a camp out there. Got the chance to talk with a bunch of college coaches that were there too, working the camp. And man, a lot of just talking about pace. And so this is a great development tool from a skating perspective. Also, the game changer of it though, guys, is it pairs up with your video. So whatever video you're using, whether that's Live Barn, whether that's an iPad, iPhone, camera, whatever, like it can sync up to your video, and it can give you your shifts after games cut up right for you, or your reps in practice cut up right for you. You can just take a look at those right afterwards. So a great development tool there too. Go to helioshockey.com today. Use the coupon code ThinkTank, one word, and you will get a 20% discount on your Pro Annual or your Pro 24-month subscription. And helioshockey.com. Unbelievable stuff. And then lastly, but certainly not leastly, thank you to all of our amazing listeners. We love you guys so much. We appreciate everything that you do for us. And that's why we continue to crank this baby out year after year, 7.5+ years into this. If you can for us, if you're thinking we're doing a solid for the hockey world, if you could share us with your networks, whether that's on social media, your email groups, your teams, your group chats, whatever it may be, or if you can interact with us on your podcast app, whatever that may be. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, we're everywhere. So any like, any comment, any download, any rating, any review, anytime you follow us, that goes a long way into that algorithm to getting us into some more ears. And so we love you guys. Continue to grind this baby out. We love doing this because we get to talk to some amazing people in the hockey world, and you're not going to find many more amazing people in the hockey world than our guest coming up here in just a couple seconds. So without further ado, here we go with Jeff Lerg. We are so excited to have on this episode of the podcast. I wouldn't even call him a friend of the pod. I'd call him a best friend of the pod. A former roommate of a one Jeffrey Lavecchio, driving to the rink together back in their Omaha days in the USHL.
Bane mask on.
Man, I absolutely love it. Jeff Lerg. Lergy, how you doing today, man?
Doing awesome, guys. Thanks for having me back. I've been, before you guys kind of made it big, I was on one of your earlier episodes. And if you circle back to the archives, you'll hear Vex chirping me because my audio was so terrible. I was like at my old house, so you couldn't hear me. I was trying to tell a story, so I'm fired up to be back and finally in a little bit more professional setting here.
And in front of a
like
sexy new sign. Look at that sign, bro.
Gosh.
You guys gotta watch us on YouTube because this guy is fancy right now. Dialed and driven mentality. It says behind him in huge writing. Whoa,
100,
very cool.
100%. And also talk about making it big. It's because we had guests like you, right? Had guests like you that helped us to make it big. So,
yeah. Add value, baby.
Appreciate it.
No worries. That's right, Vic. You know, the only way I know how to do things is do it big. So go all in.
Same.
All right, Lergy, I want to start this thing off here. You know, it's been a lot of years since we've had you on the podcast. And so I want to reintroduce you a little bit to our listeners. And your story is a story that's pretty amazing, man. And I think your story is probably a big part of the reason why you started the dialed and driven mentality and doing all the work that you're doing right now. And so you and I think and look a lot of alike as far as our closeness to the ground, in the way that we are not tall. But you're a national championship winning goalie at Michigan State. Played pro hockey at your size. I won't ask you what your size is. I'm 5'4", so maybe you can go over or under, maybe somewhere around there. But you have achieved things at your size that most people could only dream of. And so, talk to us a little bit about, honestly, like just your journey and the things that you could control along the way that helped you to achieve your dream as a Michigan kid, being the starting goalie and winning a national championship for Michigan State University.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, but by the time I met you guys, I was in, my teenage years, and I've already kind of taken my lumps and bruises a bit and was really kind of setting the tone to take even more. We were in that stage of junior hockey, trying to accomplish our goals to get to that college level. And I had the amazing blessing to get Jeff Lavecchio as my roommate. You get to that situation, you never know who you're going to be aligned with. But before I got there, though, the reason that I feel so strongly about kind of the path I went down after my playing days concluded is that I was a kid that was always super short. Topher, I knew you dealt with that. I was the kind of the short, quick athlete of the class year after year. But when I was 4 years old, I was diagnosed with really severe asthma. So I had to do this nebulizer breathing machine, Vex referred to as the Bane mask. I did that 4 years old. I did that every day for 4 or 5 times per day, just to get through the day. My mom would come at recess at school, hook me up to the machine for 10, 15 minutes before I could go out and do recess, with my little third grade buddies. So I had a very tough time, medically for a period of time. And then I kind of got over that hump, kind of got in the groove of just doing the machine before I go and skate and kind of maneuver my way into, competitive sports. And then in third grade, I had this diagnosis that my one eye was like legally blind. It wasn't blind, but by the numbers and digit terms, one eye was doing everything. The other eye was doing nothing. So there I am. I'm a kid that wears an eye patch and glasses, and I got the breathing mask on, if you can imagine that. So I'm this athlete that I think those hurdles kind of helped me develop like this find a way, no excuses mentality that propelled me into the time period when I met you guys of the next stage of battles that we all had to deal with.
Love that, man. Absolutely love that. And just quick story. I'm sure I told this on the podcast years ago, but just to kind of signify a little bit what Lergy's talking about, being an underdog. So we're playing at Cornell. It's my sophomore year, your freshman year, Lergy. It was your first ever college hockey game for Michigan State. And we played you guys on Friday and absolutely thumped you. The other goalie was in the net. You weren't playing. And playing at Cornell, is not an easy place to play. Like, the fans are right on top of you. They're loud the whole game. Like, it's an unbelievable atmosphere. Way better than Lawson. Way better than Munn. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
That's true.
But it was really, really funny. So the next game, you get your first start. You're a freshman, first ever start in college hockey at Cornell. We made it to the Frozen Four the year before. We actually made it, or not the Frozen Four. We made it to the Elite Eight the year before. We made the Elite Eight that year too. But here comes Lergy out there, and the boys are looking at you like, who is this guy? Like, are they serious putting that guy in there? And we were literally talking about that in the locker room, like before the game, after warmups. And I was like, guys, I played against you in the USHL. And I was like, stop, do not, don't think that way. Like, I'm telling you, like, this guy's really good. And sure as hell, I think it was, 3-2 or 4-3? I can't remember. But you guys came back and beat us the next night with you in net. First ever start, first ever win. And you stood on your head in that environment. Dude, I was obviously really mad that we lost, but I was like so happy for you. It was like so cool for you to start. So I want to, do you remember that experience? And like, what was that like on the other side of it?
Oh, I remember it. That's like those type of moments, and your feeling in the locker room was kind of my chip on my shoulder. I tried to kind of build for myself from even before that game, in junior hockey into college and then beyond into the minor pro ranks. But yeah, that arena was amazing. I remember the starting lineups. They got the newspapers out in front of it. They got our coach didn't have a full head of hair, but I remember there was a sign behind him that just said bald, and it kept following him around. Like, I remember vividly, to answer your question. Yeah. And I did get peppered in the third, and I remember just, willing myself to find a way to get my first college win. So yeah, very memorable for sure. And I'm happy that you were there so you could retell that story. It was awesome.
There we go. Years later.
I just love an underdog. I love a freaking underdog. I feel like all three of us on this podcast were definitely underdogs at some point in our careers, even though you two were unbelievable before you got to junior hockey and people were already talking about you. But obviously when you're a smaller guy, every level you go up, you're going to have doubters. And, I saw it with Toph. He's my cousin. Saw it my whole life. Saw it with Lergy. Every room I'd walk into, like, oh, Lergy, wow, he's small. He's not going to be able to say it. And I'm like, I would like almost be fist fighting people like, listen, this guy, you don't know. Yeah, okay, he's small. He doesn't take up a lot of net. Good luck scoring on this freaking guy. He will battle on every puck until he dies. I talk about on this podcast all the time about if like goal scoring is a habit. Toph and I did an episode recently about that. And it's a mindset and it's a habit. And I think playing out your rebounds, as long as it doesn't mess up a drill, is a great way to work on scoring goals, like secondary type of scoring. Lergy, on the other side of that, as a goalie, never, ever, ever gave up on a puck. Ever. Literally, unless it's in the net or he dies. He's never giving up on a puck. So like for the goalies out there, we've all been that skated with goalies who they don't try on this shot or they don't try on that shot. Well, if you do that to me, I'm probably buzzing the tower the next time I come down. Absolutely hate it. But this guy, I don't care if it was pre-practice, practice, scrimmage, like warm-ups in a game. He is never giving up on a puck ever. And that's why he made it as far as he did. That's why he's a captain as a goalie in NCAA hockey, not a thing almost ever, won a natty championship, played pro hockey, and now has helped probably thousands of hockey players since retiring, and is only going to help tens of thousands more the rest of his life. So like everybody listen to this podcast right now, like please listen to this guy, because, you know, we've said on the podcast too before, yes, it's really easy to look at a Sidney Crosby, a Connor McDavid and be like, oh, I want to be like that. But almost nobody is that. Almost nobody. They are just like, they're going to make it no matter what. I look at guys who nobody believed in, or they get to the next level. Like, you're not going to be successful. You don't have this or that. And they defy all odds. What did those guys do to get to that next level? What did those guys do to help players around them get better? And those are the guys that everybody should be really learning from. And Lerg is one of those guys here.
Your cheeks blushing yet with all the praise you're getting at the start of this episode? You feeling uncomfortable or what?
No, I gotta bring you guys around with me on the day to day. Do a little parade in my hometown.
Lergy, I want to ask you this, and then I really want to get into your program that you developed, this dialed and driven mentality program. I want to ask you this because I was having a conversation with a really good friend of mine here who's in the lacrosse world yesterday. We had lunch together, just kind of talking some shop and stuff. And, you know, he was asking me a couple different questions just about athletes and the ones that make it and don't and all that kind of stuff. And I got like strangely like passionate about one of the things that we were talking about. And that was really along the lines of one of the things that you've already said. And one of the things, a big part of your program, and that's no excuses. And it like the question that the way I answered the question he gave me, like, and why I got so heated about it was because I feel like it's so easy to make excuses now. And it's so easy to blame circumstance for not making it. And I feel like way too many people do that. And, you know, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, my dream, and I would encourage everybody to like think about this in the realm of life that you live in. Okay. Whether you want to get up to, you know, the higher levels of your company, or whether you want to be your school president, or whether you want to make a AAA team, whatever that end goal is. Right. And I was like, you know, my dream was to play in the NHL. I don't know if there's ever been a 5'4" player that's ever played in the NHL. Right. And so there's basically two different things that I can think of. Yeah, Gerby, but that was after me, not as I was going down my journey. Mm-hmm. But I was like, there's two things. One is I can be like, you know, I didn't get there, and the path to getting there was really hard, and I was told I was too small, and that was why, and that's not a thing that I can control. So I can like work harder. Right. And I can take things into my own circumstances, and I can like really just give everything that I have into it. Even though people are telling me no, even though I know that it's a really long shot of a goal to make it to the NHL at 5'4", I could like literally put everything I have into it. Or what I can do, and it was almost like a political conversation in some senses. I was like, or I can write a petition to the NHL saying it's not fair that they're not scouting and drafting 5'4" players, and you need to change your rules so I can make it. You know what I mean? Which is like what I feel like a lot of people do nowadays. It's like, rather than actually just understand that, it might be a little bit harder for me. Yeah, because of my circumstances, you know, my socioeconomic status or my height or whatever it might be. Like, yeah, like I just had to work harder. Yeah, I just had to take things into my control instead of like, I don't know if I'm making sense, but like I was really just like heated about that, because in today's day and age, I feel like it's so easy to like make excuses and blame circumstances rather than just like accept that for me, it's going to be harder, and then think like I'm just going to have to work that much harder to get there. And that's it. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, because you've traveled very similar roads that I have. But it just, it got me going yesterday.
Yeah, no, I'm completely aligned with you. And that's, you know, to put it, my personal story was that was the solution of being the super short goalie that kind of grew up in the era that the small goalie became extinct. The solution was just go work harder and be better at everything you can possibly do and everything you can control. You know, so the net's still 4x6, right? The puck's still the same size. Of course, you get level to level. You go elevate your level of play, and players are bigger, stronger, faster, more accurate shots. But that's what Vex talked about. Like, the only solution for me was battle your butt off on every puck at every single skate, because that was, there was no platform to get on and complain. It was just go figure it out. If you want to accomplish something, it's up to you. And I think, that was, one of the things I talk a lot about is, we have our podcast that we kind of got going with some similar avenues, and we wanted to try to, explain some of these scenarios. And we grew up in an era when we didn't know what others were up to, right? The social media front wasn't there. So we didn't know what our competitor halfway across the country was up to. It was easier for us to say, like, purely focused on, taking care of our business and not worrying about everyone else. And I think that's probably chipped away at some of the current youth athletes, that it's easier to be distracted and maybe easier to find that excuse when we grew up in kind of this naive time period of just, go worry about yourself and get the job done.
That's such a good point, man. I mean, the amount of guys in my gym 2 weeks ago that were like, almost like, it's a little bit of an over exaggeration, but like almost like paralyzed with fear over the USHL draft. I'm like, dude, what? It doesn't matter. What do you mean? Like, everyone has to go to tryouts and make the team, whether you get drafted or not. And like, couldn't sleep for a few days, having trouble eating because they're so nervous. And me, as somebody who, like, the week leading into camp, I would always lose 8 to 10 pounds, because even though, like, I was prepared and I was excited, like, my excited and my nervousness, I could barely eat for like 7 days going into any training camp, juniors, college, pro, didn't matter. It's just how I was. But I wasn't worried about all these other things that these kids are bombarded with every day on their social media and internet. You're really, really hitting the nail on the head. And I think it's something that sometimes we, as older players who didn't have to deal with all of that stuff during our time, it's easy for us to be like, what are you doing? Chill out. But like, they care so much that they want to make it just like we did. And you're right, man. It is definitely hard. And I'm starting to understand that now, seeing this happen year after year after year now with these kids.
Yeah, and I think just, really that's the reason I went down the path with this program I built. It's called the Dialed and Driven Success Formula, is because of these exact reasons. And it was similar to what, it started with a podcast we started, Dialed and Driven Mentality Podcast. And then I realized, like, although that's good, and we talk about a lot of great messages, and of course you guys have had an amazing array of guests come on and share their experience, I wanted to try to find something, at least from my avenue. How can we be a little bit more proactive to help kids work through it and build their self-belief? And what you just spoke about, Vex, that the comparison game, the fear of failure, the anxiety, the stress, those are all subtopics within our program here that we work to help. We put it in a curriculum, so to speak, just to have a structure similar to how you would navigate and build your off-season training program. It starts at the base, you come off your season, and then at the end of the season or end of the summer, you're peaked and ready to go for the year. So that's what we did here over the 14-week time period. You kind of start with your mindset mastery, starting to build your internal belief, and then you end with your long-term goals and habits and your self-identity exercises to kind of work you through it and keep sustaining what you learned down the long run.
I love that. And I want to dive into especially the self-belief part, but I want to ask you a question, Vex, and then I want Lergy, you to kind of expand on that. Vex, when you were talking about the guys who were like paralyzed by the USHL draft, how much of that do you think is driven by like status and ego? As far as like, I need to be drafted high so other people think I'm really good at this thing called hockey, versus like being focused on like the things that I can control, because we know, with a lot more experience and a lot more scars, and just lived, experience, I guess, that like that type of thinking is not good for anybody. But like how much of that paralyzation of those kids do you think is like comparative culture and like wanting other people to think that like you're really good at this game?
I think
it's like a status thing.
I think it's like a case by case basis. I think there's some players who say they really want it. And we all know this. There's some who say that, but then they don't do everything they can. So to me, it's like, well, you don't really want it, especially if you're being taught from people who've been to where you want to be. And they're saying, hey, this is what you need to do. This, and this every single day, and part of that as a coach is getting them to buy into themselves, not buying to the coach, buying to themselves. But then there are players who are like us, who are like, no, dude, I just want to do anything I freaking can to make it. And like Jeff said, like Lergy said, I think it's definitely harder now because like, Lergy at 5'4", if he was, living in today's world with the, nerd boy media, whatever that guy's name is, and the elite prospects and this and that, and all these people like who don't know what they're talking about young kids. It's kind of creepy and weird and talking about where they're projected. If he was seeing that and inundated with that every single day, he might not have had the belief to go to the gym and do what he did to make sure and go to the rink that he was the best he could be and prepared for when he got the opportunities. I think, it's not the kids are soft, man, with this stuff. Like this is definitely harder for them. And like all three of us on this call would have cut our arm open and bled out to do whatever we could to make it as far as we could, because that's who we are. And I think even those players who are like that, because of this environment that has been created, it's a lot harder on them.
I think, what are your thoughts?
No, you hit the nail on the head, I think. And I see your training that you put up, you put online. You try to harden those kids up a bit, which is what made you successful. And I think that's what they need. They need that leader and mentor that there is no gray area. You're pushing them to their limit, which is awesome. And I also completely align with that. They're receiving so much information. The only information I knew as a kid was me as that third grader getting up there doing this speech saying, when I grow up, I want to be a pro goalie. That was it. I didn't have all that other stuff coming in front of me on the day-to-day telling me I'm not as good as Johnny down in Florida because he's 6'4". Right. So I think, and that was also kind of aligning with why this dialed and driven success formula. I know that kids are going to do 20 minutes a week on some sort of media, social media, computer, something. So, hey, 20 minutes a week, do you want to put good information into your system and make yourself know that you've done something productive with it?
Dude.
Love that. And Lergy, when it comes to like self-belief, and I guess just kind of circling this circle here, I feel like too many kids today look for their confidence and look for their belief from other people. Like if other people believe in me, then I can believe in myself, when it's almost backwards. Like you have to believe in yourself first to get other people to believe in you. So is that like, what are your thoughts on that? I would say.
Yeah, that's awesome point. I think you're right. And a lot of that comes from that want to fit in. Everyone wants to kind of be in the cool group or, go to the special academy or go to the special private skills training because that's the good group to be in. There's always that sense of feel. And I think as leaders in the youth development game, I think that's where all three of us are completely aligned, just trying to keep putting the great messaging out there and trying to be your own person. I mean, how many times have you had people on this podcast as guests that have talked about how their path went down a crazy route or they didn't play tier 1 till a certain time period, right? I mean, you guys you're doing it. You're trying to keep showcasing all these examples so that everyone who's still young and developing can hear that you still have a chance. Keep believing in yourself and you're going to be able to accomplish your goals.
Unbelievable, man. Well, let's dive into what you've created here with this dialed and driven mentality mindset, and just talk to us a little bit. Obviously, a big part of you doing this was the work that you've done in the youth space and thinking about your own journey of getting to where you got to. But like, what's your why with this? What's your why? Why did you do it? And what is it? What at the end of the day is it that you're doing to help all these kids develop this mentality that can help them, succeed in their dreams?
Yeah. First off, before I get into that, I want to make sure I clear up. I am partnered with a mental performance coach, Chris Palmer.
Yes.
Awesome guy. He was a track and field or a cross country athlete. He was an All-American in that sport. About 15 years older than me. So we get along really well because he comes at it from his day-to-day experience with dealing with youth athletes. And the why for me was, as I've had some time to kind of look back on my playing career, things have settled in, and I look back and I got into I had my coaching business, my goalie coaching business that I was running, I would say full time while I played in the minors, because I had to kind of keep making ends meet every year. So by the time my hockey career finished, I went into my kind of full time as running my goalie school and kind of turned that into sort of a mentoring business. But the why behind it was, I look back and I see I only had success because of my mentality. It wasn't due to the physical nature. 5'5.5". There you go. There's my height. Severe asthma, partially kind of blind in one eye. That's my height on skates back. So I had all those things to work through. It wasn't the physical, pieces of the puzzle. And I know like how many scouts looked at me and were like, "Oh, he's pretty good, but he's not for me." They're just time after time after time, whether it was directly or indirectly said to me, it showed, when the opportunities weren't there. I didn't even get a full ride scholarship to Michigan State. I had no NHL contract offers. I had, didn't matter the success I had. It was like, it was never really good enough for people to be kind of all in on giving me the success. So I knew that I could control what I could only control, which was myself and my habits and my belief system. So that's the reason, two-parted reason is that my neighbor actually is Chris Palmer, the mental performance coach. I got to know him well and kind of saw the work that he did with athletes. And I was kind of became intrigued on how many athletes really needed to work through things, sometimes mostly from the negative front when things were really kind of bad or bothering them. And then I knew from my standpoint, I didn't really live in that world. I just live in the world of like, wake up, give your best, control your habits, find a way to accomplish your goals. And with our messaging, we came together working to build this podcast. And then as we got a lot of conversations going, I realized like, gosh, there's some great blending of different ideologies here. He comes at it from working with a lot of athletes who are struggling to get through tough times. And I come at it with just, wake up and bring your best. So that's the why behind it. And then we took all those lessons that we discussed, and then I kind of fine tuned them into kind of a process and curriculum for kids to follow.
Very cool, man. Dude. Yeah. Very, very cool.
All that school and math used to do when we lived together, bro, it all paid off, man. Unreal.
I knew you'd love that part. Back to always be tripping me for doing the homework on the bus. And
our winning after every game we'd win, we'd be celebrating in the locker room in Omaha, Toph, and the boys would be like, "Can I get a Lerg call?" And out of nowhere, I'd yell, "I like math," and the boys would go nuts. So stupid. I don't know how that started.
I know. It could have been worse. It could have been worse. Yeah.
What a jerk, Jeffrey.
Jeez, I know what
Louise. Well, Lergy, this will dovetail pretty good into, what you're doing with this program that you guys have put together, you and Chris. But one of the things that Vex and I have been talking a lot about on our podcast, and it's something that I really truly believe in now, is that like, if you truly want to make it, and whatever make it means, right? Like, let's talk about just hockey. You have to have the physical talent, right? Like that's something that part of that is God-given. Part of that is just how hard you work on your skills. But the other side to making it, which we don't talk enough about, is you have to have the life skills to make it too, right? We talk so much about the things that you need to do in the weight room and the things you need to do on the ice and the skills and this and that. We don't talk enough about the life skills that you need to achieve anything great, whether that's playing in the NHL, that's being the best doctor or teacher or whatever it may be. And so, what are some of these life skills that you think are, let's just call them non-negotiables, necessary to have if you want to achieve something great? And for a lot of the kids that are listening to this podcast, that's probably going to be playing college hockey, playing in the NHL. And how does that get brought out in some of the things that you're doing with your program?
Yeah, exactly. I think that aligns with, we know when hockey players are done playing that athletes are usually more sought after for in the professional world for jobs if they have built these life skills, the focus and preparation, which bring consistency in your performance. That's obviously kind of the key triangle. That internal self-belief to get the job done regardless of circumstances. That's obviously key. And then lastly, I still believe once you have that foundation, goal setting for me was at my core of always working towards something and being purely focused on that, which helps you live in the moment. There's so many distractions that can occur. You could be a 15-year-old focused on your NHL draft, when you should really be purely focused on who you're playing this weekend in the state tournament so you can go dominate, right? So I think those core competencies are needed from the youth athletes. And you're right, there is the physical training that's been, so many great skills coaches and training offerings out there. Obviously, Vex does an amazing job in the weight room. Like those things are there and people know about those. And then sometimes what I see is kids just do so many of those things. They don't really do them with intent and they don't really know even why they're doing them. Half the time they're doing it because their friends are doing it or their parents are driving them there. So that's why I like the messaging where you got to have the why behind it for each athlete, and goal setting for me was always at my core.
Love that. Love that. Well, let me ask you this, because mental training is something that I feel like, I don't want to say it's taboo, but it's a lot harder to kind of like quantify and understand how it's making you better. Like you get into the weight room with Vex, you can do 5 pull-ups at the beginning, and then by the end of the summer, you can do 10, or you lose 15 pounds because you get put on a conditioning program. It's a lot easier to like quantify. Mental skills, mental training, it's a little bit more difficult. You think about confidence, right? Like you can't measure confidence like you can a pull-up. And so like, how do you go about kind of like with your program and with the players that you've been working with, whether it's with the program or stuff that you've done outside of it too? Like, how do you, and probably Chris, because I'm sure you guys have had a lot of different conversations on this. How do you help kids to understand the value of what you're doing? And just like explain to all the kids that are listening here how important it is to work on mentality and to work on, all the things that you're doing.
Yeah, a lot of times, just to kind of take the taboo out of it, I refer to it as the athletic habits, things that are going to make you successful. And sometimes it's things that just happen organically for kids. There's a reason why I hung around Vec in my downtime, not because he's my roommate, because I knew that he was aligned with what I was trying to accomplish. Same with you, Topher. I know you guys just had Evan Ritt on. He was a teammate of mine in France. He was the guy I always hung around because we had similar like-minded, goal setting, ways of operating, right? Because we just know that that's the type of person we want to be. So sometimes for the youth athletes, it starts there. And I know that's a kind of just, preaching to the choir. But in terms of the mentality piece, the taboo piece, there's, belief can never be faked. It doesn't matter how much you puff your chest out as a kid and like how much that you're wearing that jersey that has, the tier 1 on it. You can't fake your belief. So you have to build it through actionable steps. And, if you're an athlete, what I would always kind of prompt kids, players, goalies to do is if we did, 4 down and backs last week, we're doing 5 this week because we're tangibly doing something. So the way that I work this in with an online training program is you're taking little quizzes that are reminding you of the teaching points. Did you understand and do it? And then there's some documents in there where they can go and take and then practice those things. The pre-practice checklist. Okay, here's what I should do before every practice. Put the phone away, give my dynamic warm-up, listen to every word the coach says when he's at the whiteboard so I truly know what the first drill is. I'm locked in and I'm going. So I try to provide as much tangible pieces in a program because you're right, the mentality piece, there's no finger that you can touch it all the time. A lot of it's just what's inside each individual person.
That's awesome, man. And I think a lot of that probably has to do with goal setting. Like you talked about goal setting a little bit earlier. That's the part of the puzzle that you can control. Like, am I doing the things that I said I was going to do? And so like, can you dive a little bit into goal setting? Because I feel like that's another one that is really, really misunderstood. It's probably the thing that people say they want to do the most, but never follow through on. So talk a little bit about how goal setting can help you and what are some tricks of the trade that can help you to do that.
Yeah, awesome. That aligns with there's a little phrasing in there I call the pretender or the contender mindset. Are you the pretender or contender? And it goes down with the goal setting. And for me, it always starts with, what's your long-term goal of the year? Okay, I want to win the national championship. Okay, great. How are you going to do that? Well, if you're a player, I'm going to shoot 50 extra pucks per week or per day in the shooting room. Okay, I'm going to always get a hit on my first shift, right? Or I'm going to hit the net 75% of the time in practice. You establish 3 small goals that you can actually control. So you always want to deal with the controllable pieces. For me on the goalie front, that was always, I want to let up 5 goals or less in practice. I want to have a good, come prepared for practice, meaning I go through my practice routine, and then a little superstition, but a little bit of controllable. I always stop that last shot and warm up so I know that my mindset's ready. So I kind of just control the little things to help me get through to accomplish the big goal. Of course, you can get more granular and talk a little bit about statistics of, I want to get a point per weekend or block 2 shots a game, whatever that is. But you got to have the long-term goal and then work backwards to really tangible, trackable, short-term goals.
You gotta be constantly thinking about these, like forefront of your mind. Like, I got 3 whiteboards in front of me here with like goals and things I want to achieve and all that, like right across from me. When I played, I had them everywhere. I was writing in my notebook all the time. When we're in the gym with guys, literally, like when I can tell a guy is like a little bit gassed, I'll go up to him like, what are your goals for the season? And I already know what they are because I've already asked them, but then they have to tell me. And like, if you hit 8 reps right now, if that's what we're trying to get, tell yourself right now, if I hit 8 reps, if I get all 8 reps, I'm going to be a top 3 D-man this year. And like, go do that set right now. Like bring that intention. And like he was just talking about as part of your daily habits that are a bigger part of your summer goals, which will lead you to your season goals. So like the more that you're thinking about these and they're top of mind and you're talking about them, I also think you should tell people. I tell all my guys, tell your parents your goals, tell your coaches your goals, tell me your goals, tell your friends your goals. Because now if you're acting in a way that is getting you further away from your goals, hopefully you're in the right circle of friends who are going to call you out and say, wait a minute. You've ate ice cream the last 8 days in a row. Didn't you tell me your goal is to be, first line center and come in and win testing and blah, whatever it is, right? So like, tell people your goals too, because they're going to, if you have a good circle, they're going to hold you accountable as well. And you can hold them accountable too.
Yes, no, Jeffrey. I just wanted to get, I think honestly, and that's why I know you're meant to do what you're doing though, because you do it on the physical and the mental piece, and you're the anomaly in my opinion of being able to bring both. And that's why from my perspective, I've dealt in the youth game where I've had, many goalies through the years, like youth goalies come up to me for a private lesson, and I'm working to connect with them and working to help them, working to push them. And they're just eyes glazed over. They're just there because their parents bring them. There's no reason they're there other than that they think doing some form of activity must be making them a better goalie. Or in various academy settings I've been in, there's many times that kids just think that they're special or they're automatically getting better if they attend this. And it's like,
they just show up.
Yeah. Just because you wear that logo doesn't mean anything. I ran a tier 1 club. I ran a tier 1 club for 5 years, and I was around various academies in our metro Detroit market over the last 10 years, I'd say. And I get that sense of just from the modern day athlete where like, it's like, guys and girls, that's not making you better. If you don't bring it, if you don't have all these other little things, you're just at a place and doing some form of activity. You might as well call it gym class.
Love that.
That's where Vex, the word that I've heard you use more than maybe any other word in the 7 years that we've been doing this, is intention.
Yeah.
It's right. Everything. Like it's one thing to show up. And that's why I always say, like, it's easy to work hard. Like everybody works hard. When I go around and I talk to different youth teams, it's one of the things that I talk to them about is like, okay, hey, everybody in here, everybody in the room right now, raise your hand if you work hard. Everybody raises their hand. And then I say, okay, now if I were to give this talk to every single team that you guys are going to play against this year, what's the percentage of hands that are going to go up when I say, do you work hard? They're like, well, probably 100%. I'm like, yeah, that's like showing up. That's like the bare minimum. Like how you can separate yourself is like how you show up for each rep, the intention you put with each rep, and then like out competing and outworking that person next to you who's doing just what's that. You can't just do what's asked. You have to do it with intention. And so that kind of dovetails into something I wanted to ask you, Lergy, because, your program is called Dialed and Driven. And the second word there, driven, is one that is so incredibly important. How do we create more driven players, more driven individuals where they have the internal drive, the internal motivation? It's not mom or dad paid for me to be a part of this academy. Mom or dad paid for me to be a part of this team. It's actually, I'm a player that wants this more than the next person. Like how do we develop driven athletes?
Yeah, great question. The reason that we came up with that name, first off, is the definition of it is understanding the task at hand and executing at the highest level. That's our dialed and driven mentality. And that's where I think that little extra grit and perseverance comes in, is what the driven athlete is. It's they're going to do it no matter what. No excuses, nothing's getting in their way. So really it's all about the environment. First off, I think that environment plays a big part. The reason I am who I am is because the coaches I had along the way, especially when Beck and I were teammates with Mike Hastings, he made us into machines like that. There was a no nonsense, like we would sweep a weekend and get bag skated on Monday because we had a bad third period. We would do countless things that I'm sure you guys have talked about, but we had this driven mentality because of the environment, but also because we all truly wanted to get there. So I think it's a little bit of both, and it's about, really just, how bad do you want it? And I think we're all trying to help youth athletes understand, like, that pyramid keeps getting tighter at the top, and you don't want to be the one that doesn't really realize it until you're really falling off. Like, it's kind of just this preemptive warning. So environment would be the one answer, but many things.
So how do you create that environment? Because I feel like there has to be a really good balance and mix of making it really hard and it being challenging, but it also being a place that you want to show up every day. And a big part of both of those things is the people. I think in any environment, the people supersedes anything. But what is the ideal environment to develop driven people, to bring that best of them out in a consistent basis, maybe even when they don't have the capacity to bring their best every day? How do you if environment is so big, how do you create that?
Yeah, good question. I think results oriented, that's something that I talk a lot about with my business, my Goalie Mentors business. It's kind of all tied in the same realm, and it's you are purely focused on getting the job done. For example, I'll share a story with one of the younger employees of mine who started out a handful of years ago. He was a college kid playing club hockey, and he was kind of paying his way for college. So I hired him on to be a full-time staffer. And he had a club hockey game late on a Saturday night, a couple hours away. We had a Sunday morning clinic at 7:15 a.m. So I roll up to the rink at 6:30 in the morning. I see his car in the parking lot. He's sleeping in it. And his results-oriented mentality was, I'm not getting back from my game at 2:30 in the morning and then, risking missing my alarm. I'm getting home from the game. I'm driving right to the rink an hour away, and I'm just sleeping there just so I can keep my job and keep paying my way. So now I think that's the results-oriented mindset. That's why he's a full-time worker for me.
Amazing.
So absolutely. I think yeah, isn't that awesome?
That's cool, man. Mm-hmm. That's literally unreal. Vex, that story's got a special place in your heart.
Yeah, but that's the difference though. That type of person is going to find a way to be successful no matter what. It doesn't matter what the odds are against them. It doesn't matter what obstacles they face. If you have that type of mindset, you're going to be successful. I don't care. Long enough timeline, you win every time.
I think so for sure. I think a lot of that is obviously on the makeup of that kid, But I also think there's a big part of that that's in the makeup of the environment that Lerg created. Like, he's not going to be that committed to something if he doesn't think that it's providing value and it's not like a cause or an environment that he wants to be a part of, So like I think it's both. So like, how do you do that? Like, how do you get people to be so committed and so bought in to want to do something like sleeping in their car after a game Saturday night and getting back at 2:30 in the morning, where they're going to want to show up the next day and give their all?
Yeah, I think my biggest thing, what I've learned just through the years, is I like to show people that there's something there. The harder they work, the more reward they'll get. I know it's always sometimes tougher in sports to directly provide that, but that's the environment that I think that great leadership can provide. Like, the harder you work, the more results you bring, the more reward you'll get. Whatever your reward is it vacation? Is it more money? Is it whatever your goals are? The environment created by the leader should help you accomplish those in some manner.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Well, Lergy, another thing that Vex and I talk about, it literally comes up pretty much every podcast, and I think it would be a really good question to ask you as it relates to the program that you have. And we think that one of the most important life skills is resilience, the ability to bounce back after adversity, the ability to withstand, adversity and come out stronger on the other side. All three of us have had to build resilience to get to where we are today. How is that something that you think about with the program that you've created for kids coming up nowadays?
Yeah, we talk a lot about it. They're a little interchangeable with the words, the perseverance or grit, resiliency. Yep. They're all interchangeable. They're all a part of every single athlete's journey. Doesn't matter if it's a tough loss or a bad shift or cut from a team. And the way we work to provide the solution is that you go back and control. You can control it. It sounds boring, but you go back to resetting your goal for the next event, practice, game, whatever that is. Go back to the things that you're striving for, your pre-practice checklist, your high performance behaviors. It's really just trying to provide some content for athletes to go back on, to be like, okay, that sucked. I got cut. What should I do? Instead of sitting there and swimming in it, get back into the attack mode and go back and attack it, because every athlete has that. Every athlete has their journey or their story, and it's just the nature of sport. So the quicker you reset and get back up, the better off you're going to be. But we certainly talk about it and acknowledge it, and we make sure that the youth athletes know it's going to happen. So be ready for it and be ready to attack it when it does happen.
That's awesome, man.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah, it goes to, like, I wrote a post on social media, I think it was today actually, or maybe it was the other day, on how Nike had it right. Just do it. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, just do it. Like, things aren't going well, you're not feeling great. Like, just put one step ahead of the other and just go and do. What's the saying, Vex? We say, like, action alleviates anxiety, Yeah. It just, you gotta just, what does that say? Reps removed out. Yep. Reps removed out. Yeah. And that's why programs like yours, and especially, like, it's something that gets the kids to go back and, hey, here's a thing that I can do. I can go back to my goals. I can go back to my pre-practice checklist, my high performance. It's like almost like a written reminder to get back up on the horse when the adversity undoubtedly comes, because it's coming. It's always going to come. And so I love that. I think just taking action and having something like your program to be able to give you some structure to what you can take action on can be so valuable, so incredibly valuable. Like, what are your thoughts on that, man? Just, you got to do. You got to be a doer. You want to get out of a rut. You got to go. Let's go.
Yeah, that's why I think that the adversity I faced as an athlete of, trying to set goals or get into certain colleges or trying to get in the next pro contract and always kind of being left short of it, because I couldn't control if they were offering me or not. I was always in this go, go, go mode. It was like, okay, don't sit and think about it. Just get up and go after it again and go work your butt off. And that's exactly the reason. There's got to be something there that's a positive feedback loop for kids to receive, because we know that when things aren't going well, we're going to go distract ourselves with something.
So important for young people to learn. And, Toph and I think that hockey's the best game to teach life. And so, like, this stuff, yeah, you want them to play a better game of hockey. Ultimately, big picture, 10,000 foot view, you want a kid to learn how to be able to pick himself up after he got dusted, after he got beat up, after loss, whatever it is, and wake up tomorrow and be able to go out there and attack the day and not sit and sulk and cry in their room and poor me, because they're not going to be able to do that as an adult in the real world. So like, the sooner that we can get them to learn these lessons through the lens in the game of hockey, it's going to allow them to play hockey longer at a higher level, reach their goals, get a scholarship, maybe whatever their goals are, right? But ultimately, the rest of their life, they're going to learn these lessons that they need to learn for society to function and for them to be happy, healthy human beings, fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, wife, husband, whatever. And all of these things that we're talking about are going to help them in life even more than it's going to help them in hockey.
Amen, brother. Amen. I love it. Well, I think this conversation is going to help a lot of people, Lergy. I really, really appreciate you having on. Before we let you go here, just tell us where people can find you. You got a podcast now. You got this program, this Dialed and Driven Mentality program. Where can people who are listening to this find it?
Yeah, that's at Dialed and Driven on social. And then Lerg Inc. is my personal social. Those are the main 2. And yeah, dialedandrivenmentality.com. You can see everything we're doing. This is called the Success Formula, is what we were chatting on today. So you'll see the link there. It's been a good journey of playing. And then I've navigated into the coaching and mentorship world, and just want to do my best to relay all the life lessons I've learned and hopefully enhance the next generation and help them accomplish all their goals as I was able to accomplish mine.
Love that, man. Love that. Well, we're going to keep you for a couple more minutes to do a little 10 questions. That's going to be housed in our Hockey Think Tank U community. If you're not a part of that, go to httU.thehockeythinktank.com and join it today. But Lergy, man, so much fun to be able to have you on here again. And we appreciate all that you're doing. Dialed and Driven Mentality program, guys. Go check it out.
All right. Thanks, guys.
The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has a new customer offer. When the ice gets coldest, the best players in the world show you exactly who they are. Playoff warriors turn it up round by round, and DraftKings turns it up with them from the first round all the way to the Stanley Cup final. Bet player props, bet live, from the opening faceoff to the final horn, every moment matters. New DraftKings customers bet just $5 and you'll get $100 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN so you're ready for the moment. That's code THPN. Turn $5 into $100 in bonus bets instantly. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Limited time offer. Copyright 2026. NHL. All rights reserved.